Hello, my name is Alex Josh, and I'm an architect with the Microsoft Business Unit at NetApp. Today we're going to be talking about rapid provisioning. This is a core component of the NetApp Hyper-V Cloud Fast Track with Cisco program. It's PowerShell and OIP based, and we're going to be using the Cisco and the NetApp PowerShell toolkits. This is a technology preview, and we'll be shipping these products a little bit later this year. So we're going to start with Opalis here, and as you can see, it's a pretty complex workflow. We're going to get the workflow started here, and then I'll explain as we go along the steps. So as before, we will have this in a test window, and the first thing is a monitor object, and that monitor object is actually waiting for a System Center Service Manager request, which is a change request. We've created a custom change request here for provisioning a new UCS blade, and we did this using the toolkit that comes with System Center Service Manager. So this is our standard change request form, and we're just going to fill it out here. We're going to say a new UCS node. And I'm out of coffee. No, wait, that's the wrong demo. Okay, so we're going to provision a new UCS blade, and we need more capacity. That's the reason. So normally you'd go through several steps of approval and etc. We're not going to show all that, but that's all possible here. So we've got a little custom form that we built to provision a UCS blade, and it asks for information like it wants to know the name of the parent template, and it wants to know how big the disk should be and host name and things like that, right? So standard information. Again, this is intentionally fairly simple, just to give you the concept of the way this should work. So we're going to go ahead and submit this now. And what's going to happen is that once Opalis recognizes that this change request has been submitted, then the workflow will continue on to the next step. So it'll take a few seconds here for Opalis to query and figure out what's going on. So this is the UCS Manager here, and we're going to bring this up just so we can see what's going on. And now you can see it's picked up the change request, and things are happening fairly quickly here. Basically what we're doing is we're going through and doing all the information that we need to create a new service profile inside the UCS Manager here. And you can see that these steps are all taking place in Opalis, and then in the UI over on the right hand side of the screen these actions are being represented. So you see that we have this new UCS Node 1, and it's got HBAs and it has NICs in it. And now if we open this up and we click on it, you can see its information. We're not going to go through all these screens here. We have other demonstrations which show the screens and things like that. But we're going to bring the blade up now. And we're actually, through the magic of video, fast forwarding a bit. There's a lot of post information, and it has to go through and register itself. And there's some steps that we're skipping here, so apologies for that, but just in the interest of time, we're going to skip ahead. And now what we're seeing is the UCS blade is going to boot Windows, and it's going to go into setup here just a second. So the image that we're booting from here is actually a cloned LUN, a cloned boot LUN. So inside the workflow, we created a clone of a master gold boot image. We made this the boot LUN for this blade, and now it's booting. And what you're seeing here is the standard Windows setup experience. Now, of course, what we've done is we've actually edited the answer file for this blade so that it'll come all the way up. So that's a little extra trick that you can do, not required, but it just makes it a little bit faster. And that's actually in the workflow. And we'll provide a white paper online just to kind of explain in detail the way this workflow works. So now we're seeing the standard Windows setup experience. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward again, because this is about a 5-minute process, or Windows does standard UB type setup experience. And basically when the blade comes up and then we join it to the cluster, what we wind up with is a running cluster. So in our fast track submission, what we have is a 4-node cluster, which you see here. And this is node number 1. Inside this node, we're running Hyper-V, and we have some VMs running here that are VMs in the middle cluster. We also have a clustered shared volume, which we can then provision VMs against. So now in a separate workflow, we're going to provision VMs against this clustered shared volume. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this. It's a very simple workflow. Basically what we do is we clone a VHD within the running CSV. So here's the CSV here. This is actually the second CSV, CSV2, it's called Volume 2. And now here's our new VHD called job1.vhd. It went by pretty quick, but it's a 133 gigabyte file, and it cloned it in about a minute there. Now what we do is we call scvmm, and we ask scvmm to create the VM for us. So the VHD already exists, so we don't have to do that step. So what you can see is that the deploy file step 1.2 basically happened instantaneously. Again, we're going to fast forward through here a little bit in the interest of time, but what you see is scvmm is now going through all the steps that it needs to do to customize the VM. And here's the VM starting. So similar to the physical host, now we're seeing the new Windows experience here. This is the mini setup experience, right? Because again, this is also a sysprepped file. And zooming ahead to the end here, what we see is we have a configured VM. And it took about 5 minutes, well, according to this, it's 5 minutes and 28 seconds to actually create and provision the VM. So there you have it, a very fast whirlwind tour from a blank out-of-the-box blade to provision blade running Windows to a member of a cluster to provisioning a VM, all using Opalis, all completely automated using some of our underlying management technologies. So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again soon.